right, let's see what D-Cell put together today. After the Texans kind of shocked the NFL world yesterday by firing GM and head coach Bill O'Brien, the focus now turns to who's going to replace him. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, one quote-unquote name to watch is Pat's offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. Now, as we know, the Texans' new executive VP of football ops is a former Pat's character coach and close McDaniels' friend. His name is Jack Easterby, I believe is how you pronounce it. In or out, Josh McDaniels would be the right fit for Deshaun Watson and the Texans.
Yeah, I think he would be. I think we're seeing how effective Cam Newton is under Josh McDaniels, and that's just not a black quarterback thing. It's an athletic quarterback thing, and the options that Josh McDaniels has probably wanted to use for multiple years now, but because Tom Brady was your GOAT and your starting quarterback, your playbook is as effective as it was limited. I think he'd be great up there or down there, I should say, in Houston. The only thing you got to think about is the surrounding pieces, right? Do you have those reliable, pass catchers, those runners who are tough, those role guys? You got to get a fullback again, like all those things that we've seen with the Pats. You could imagine going down there and working with Josh McDaniels, but he has had to have learned how to be a better head coach than he was in Denver.
Yeah, he's been challenged for sure.
Yep.
He's been challenged with an aging icon and all that goes through that and comes with that, I should say, in Tom Brady. And, he's been dealing with the maybe not rehabilitation, but certainly a renaissance of a former MVP, first overall pick, who comes with a totally different skill set and different demeanor, the complete opposite of how Brady and Cam project. Yeah, I believe that this will be terrific. Now, is it the perfect fit? I don't know if anything's perfect when you're, $5 or $6 million in salary cap space held already, as we chronicled yesterday. So that's obviously problematic there. You got the left tackle, you got the quarterback. You're going to have to find a way to do some other things creatively here. And the division's going to be pretty good, I think, for a couple of years. I think the Colts will be strong, and we know that the Tennessee Titans should be pretty strong. But I think it's the right time. It feels like the right spot. I would say inbounds. I would agree. First, the team interviewed assistants Wes Unseld Jr. and Steven Silas, something we've talked about. The New York Times is reporting that veteran coach John Lucas is an emerging candidate. Now, Lucas has served as the Rockets' player development coach. This goes back to 2016. He's 66, hasn't coached since 2003. He's got a great record of literally rehabilitating players from drug and alcohol demons. He battled that himself. He's got a 173 and 258 overall record. Coached the Spurs, the Sixers, and the Cavaliers. In or out, you would like to see Lucas get another shot as an NBA head coach?
I'm going to say out of bounds of that one, BT. I think the trend is, we know where it's going. It's to these former players who are still young, but have high basketball IQs. That's why Chauncey Billups has been, thrown around. Interestingly, with the, new Indiana Pacers, which will have one of their owners on later on in the show, BT. But yeah, I think the trend is going away from the older retreads, especially a guy who hasn't been on the bench as the head man for 17 years. It's a long time, man. So I'm going to say out of bounds of this one.
Oh, this is a hard out of bounds, and don't misconstrue. I've got so much respect for Lucas.
Yep.
He's touched a lot of players in the college game as well. Like, his fingerprints are all over the basketball universe. He saved a lot of people. But, I just got to answer this. Honestly, he wasn't even a good coach when he was coaching.
Yep.
It's not like, maybe if you invert the record and he was 258 and 173, I still would say no, because, you're starting to get towards the age of 70, and you've been around the game, but you haven't been designing, concepts to fit the current game. No, I think he's a great people person. I think he's a great asset to any franchise in the right role, but absolutely not. That would literally go down as the strangest hire in a long time for me. That would make no sense. All right, Tiki, after 5 straight double-digit win seasons that included a national championship, the Seminoles, Florida State, they scuffled 18 and 20 the past 3 seasons. That is horrendous for what they expect. 18 and 20. All right, 0-2 this year. Here we go. Mike Norvell and company were down 21-7. They started 0-2 on Saturday to Jacksonville State before mounting a comeback, and they finally, the athletes finally pulled away, 41-24. They've got number 5 Notre Dame coming up, number 8 North Carolina with a big-time quarterback coming up next. So could conceivably be 1-4 after the first 5 weeks of the season here. In or out, Florida State can still regain its national presence and become a consistent contender in the ACC.
I'm going to say inbounds of that, BT, but it's got to take we bring this up all the time, and it's not even really, this is the wrong cliche. It's not even the recruiting cycle. He's just got to get a quarterback. Right now they are struggling with quarterbacks. They have James Blackman, who's been their on and off starter for the last 3 seasons, really 4 if you count this one. And there's a freshman, I'm forgetting his name now, slipping the top of my head. He's a great athlete, but he can't throw the ball at all. And so I don't know how you're winning in college football in 2020 without having a capable quarterback. And that's only going to happen when you start winning big games and people and kids and their families start seeing you as a destination that's going to propel them to the next level.
Yeah.
Until that happens, they won't get back to their winning ways. Can it happen? Sure. I'm going to say inbounds because I like Mike Norvell as a head coach.
Yep.
He did great things at Memphis and put out a bunch of pros, especially running backs. But it's going to take some time. I'll say inbounds, but it's going to take some time.
That's why I'm going to say out of bounds, because he's not going to have time. Because one of the problems with Florida State, now again, to attach a finite window here, I mean, listen, in 10 years, conceivably, sure, anybody can become a power theoretically. But I do not think they're anywhere near regaining a national presence. And like Norvell, I hear you, did good things at the college level. But one of the tough things about Florida State is that you're wrestling these multiple years of ineptitude now, but you're still measured against your greatest barometer. And that is tough. A little bit different, but I've seen it with St. John's. Like the old St. John's fans think, well, where's Chris Mullin? Chris Mullin's 50. That's where Chris Mullin is. I know how this works a little bit, and it just doesn't happen like that. Same with Georgetown. They were down for a little bit, and, schools like that. And Florida, and football is even more difficult because you have multiple schools in the state of Florida who are now viable, not to mention the ones who are always viable. I think this is problematic. I think he's going to probably have, what is he going to be, 3-7, 3-8 this year? Whatever the record's going to 3-7. And now all of a sudden you go into year 2, the recruits aren't there. There's a negative energy, not against Norvell. I'm not saying it's against him.
Yeah.
Lot to overcome. Say out of bounds.
Yeah. No, that kid's name was Jordan Travis.
Got it.
Sophomore.
The one who can't throw, or the one who
can't throw? He's a great athlete. He's
but
not.
If you can't throw,
I agree.
You should not be playing quarterback.
But that's the position. These dual-purpose quarterbacks who they can throw. He can throw, obviously, but he's not like adept at it. You know what I mean? So he's more of a runner. He's more of a runner than he is as a passer. And when they bring him in, it's to run wildcat and maybe a jump pass here or there.
I mean, come on. Theo Epstein, miraculous run atop 2 franchises, story, but also with historical curses here. Now, we know that Epstein helped end the curse of the Bambino after 86 years, and then he went to Chicago. He ended the Cubs' curse of the Billy Goat after 108 years. So now he's entering his 10th season in Chicago, and he's in the final year of his deal. Yesterday he hinted that this very well would be his last, telling reporters, "For me," is a quote, "for me, as an individual, there is a benefit for change after a significant amount of time on the job." End quote. In or out, Theo Epstein does not get enough credit for what he's done in both Boston and Chicago.
No, I'm going to say out of bounds of that. I think if you know baseball, you know Theo Epstein was the man. That curse in Boston was real, and they felt it. And not that it wasn't real in Chicago, but Boston, because of the rivalry that they had to overcome and the championships that were won by the Yankees in their division, you know what Theo Epstein has done. I'm going to say out of bounds. I think people who know.
Yeah. If you know, you know. And if you don't, I can't help you because you haven't been watching baseball, and you don't need to know at that point. Theo Epstein is one of the most important baseball figures of all time. He is one of the most important baseball figures of all time. To eradicate the curse, I mean, it's not a literal thing, but you know what I mean, to win and symbolically eradicate the curse. In Boston, with the Yankees owned them, and I lived it. I used to laugh. I didn't think they could ever beat us.
Yeah.
Never. We're going to be Red Sox. We're going to win. It's the Red Sox. And then to do it for the Cubs, and for those teams to lose in such tortured, fashion as they have. The Bartman play. Are you kidding? The 86 World Series with Buckner with the Red Sox. Herculean task. one of the most important figures in the history of baseball. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.